G'day, legend. Welcome to the Noob Spearo podcast. It's interviews with people who froth on the spearfishing lifestyle from all over the planet. Today, we're off to Indonesia to chat with Aquatic Apes, Lenny Logsdail. This bloke has a huge YouTube channel, particularly in the incredibly small world of spearfishing. This bloke has amassed millions of subscribers, and he's in a very, very interesting cat living in a very interesting part of the world. We're going to get to that interview where I tease out some tips and tricks to grow your YouTube channel. Also, if you're interested in spearfishing Indonesia, Lenny's got a whole heap of actionable intel in that area. Before we get there, some news from around the traps. Trevor Ketchian, you might remember him from his YouTube channel, Submerged Psycho. He's an absolute character. He's also one of my instructors on our upcoming intermediate spearfishing course held off Brisbane, alongside Tim McDonald and Tom Sandstrom. I've got an absolute talented team here to teach this intermediate course. It's going to be epic. Anyway, Trevor is auctioning off a spot on this course. There's only 3 spots remaining, by the way. If you are interested, go to spearfishingcourses.com.au. But Trevor Ketchian, hit him up. He's got raffle tickets for $30 a ticket, and all that money he's raising is going to the Inter-Pacifics fundraiser, basically to send the Aussie team to New Zealand next year for a huge Inter-Pacifics competition. It's a fantastic initiative. Hit Trevor Ketchian up on Facebook. I'll link that up in today's show notes. If you go to noobspearo.com/aquatic apes, you'll find Trevor's details in there. Also, around the traps, here we go. Tony left a review for a recent spearfishing course he did off Strady with me. He says, my wife booked 3 days learning this to freedive spearfish with Isaac Daly, Shrek. Didn't really know what to expect as I've never done this type of thing before, was pleasantly surprised by the experience. Shrek, Bree and Tom were amazing, learned a lot from them. The pace of the course was very good and covered a lot of information. Even a beginner could keep up, which was a credit to them and the course content. The overall team on the course made the experience even more enjoyable and memorable. Great locations as well. Would highly recommend this course to anyone wanting to learn freedive spearfishing and have some fun along the journey. Thank you. Hey, cheers, Tony. Thanks for that review. It's up on Google if you want to check it out. Noob Spearo Spearfishing up there. But if you want to check out a course again at spearfishingcourses.com.au, I've also got a women's course coming up. It's in February from the 22nd to the 25th, 2024. It's taught by an all-female team, and there's 10 spots available there. So again, spearfishingcourses.com.au. Check that out. Also, guys, coming up right around the corner is the Kingfish Cup. It's held in the Greater Sydney area, about a 250-kilometre stretch of coastline, weigh-in stations at Adreno, Sydney, Little Manly and Sydney Harbour and Terrigal on the Central Coast. It's a fantastic competition. Check it out. The information night is on November 2nd. More details to come, but I'm really looking forward to that. Also got a cracker review out of the US on Apple Podcasts. It says, this show is the best I've ever listened to. I'm a Noob Spearo and have been listening for a few weeks now. Started from episode 1 and love to listen to Turbo and Shrek go at each other. Best part of my day. Thanks, guys, for all the great interviews and information. Jeepers, he's back in the archives there. But anyway, awesome. I'm stoked he's enjoying it. Hey, guys, let's get into today's interview. Actually, one more quick one. Tom Sandstrom, his little brother is doing a run. Check it out. Jack Max, he's at run 4, the number 4, Eden 2023. Run number 4, Eden 2023 on Instagram. These guys are raising some money. It's a fantastic initiative, and these guys are absolute legends. Check that out at Run 4 Eden 2023. Anyway, let's get into today's interview. Lenny Logsdail, Aquatic Apes. Here we go. I was left with an empty cooler after missing and wounding a bunch of fish with a shoddy spear gun. A work colleague urged me to speak to Neptonics, and I'm so glad I did. Without Jerry and the Neptonics team, I would have kept missing bulk fish and coming home to my wife empty-handed. Now I can focus on slaying monster hogs and grouper and covering the deck of my boat in blood. Never buy a shitty piece of equipment again. Shop Neptonics.com, use the code NOOB10 to save 10% and go spearing with confidence. Jerry says if we sell it, we believe in it, we trust it, and dive it. Shop Neptonics.com. Free shipping for the lower 48 for orders over $199. And you can save 10% when you use the code NOOB10, NOOB10 at Neptonics.com. Hoorah! Adreno stocks equipment for noobers. The gear you need for all things freediving and spearfishing. The Adreno Spearfishing team froth on helping customers learn about the latest in spearfishing equipment, local diving, upcoming trips and events for Spearos of all levels of experience. There's no ego in there. You're going to meet cool people that love this spearing lifestyle as much as you do. Visit them in-store in one of their huge mega stores around Australia. Chat to one of their friendly team members. Take advantage of the Noob Spearo discount code. Save $20 on every purchase over $200. In-store, online, easy savings. Pump in the code Noob Spearo if you're shopping online or in-store. Mention it's one of their friendly team members and save $20 over $200. That's right. Use the code Noob Spearo in-store. Shop with Adreno, our partner for more than 200 episodes. G'day, Noobers. Today I'm joined by Lenny from Aquatic Apes. It's a hell of a good YouTube channel, uptaken by people outside our spearfishing world as well. I'm hoping to pick your brains today, Lenny, and find out sort of a bit of a recipe for the rest of us that have got maybe some good spearfishing content, but no idea how to make videos, brother. So welcome to the show.
Cool. Thanks. I'm excited to do the show with you.
Mate, I've listened to, and I've only recently re-listened to your interview on Spear Factor with Brett Whitman. That was an absolute cracker chat, but that was 2 years ago. You've come a long way since then. Your channel's grown a heck of a lot. Mate, it's crazy. 2.3 million subscribers. Does that seem a little bit surreal?
Yeah, it's definitely is surreal. When I started it, my goal was, I wrote it down. I think it was like 10,000 by the end of the year. And yeah, a lot of things lined up in a lucky way that made that be almost 1 million after the first year. And yeah, it's continued to grow. It's crazy. Yeah.
Imposter syndrome?
Yeah. More so before. I actually haven't really logged on to my own YouTube for over a year now. So I don't actually really know the numbers of the videos or the subscriber count. So I knew it was more than 2. I didn't know it was 2.3.
So what do you now you've sort of outsourced the publishing side of things, have you?
No, it's just, I don't think it's good for you to keep too on top of the numbers. At least for me, like I want okay, you do something good, you get like that dopamine hit. I want that to come from creating something rather than from whether or not it's well received. Cause at least half the time it's going to be like on YouTube, they have like rankings for the videos. Half the time it's going to be under a 5 out of 10 and half the time it's going to be above. And you're depressed when it's underperforming and you're elated when it's when it's doing well. I don't think either is good for you. So I've sort of just removed myself from that part of it. And it's helped a bit.
Nice. I'm getting straight into the guts, the crux of one of the main questions I really wanted to ask you. And it's pretty early because I feel like I haven't even warmed you up. But like with creating something like what you've created, I think, you can be really strategic and you can play the platform's algorithm. And then you can also play to the people that will enjoy your content, and you can follow a recipe and formulas that other people have done before you. But then there's the art side of things too, where you want to just please kind of your own creative instincts as well. How do you do that? And has it changed over time?
Yeah, it's a constant thing on my mind, probably for everyone doing it. Like you can't get too, not you, like me, I can't get too specific on something that maybe I'd want to, because I know it just wouldn't appeal to as broad of an audience. And there's a question as to whether or not that's the right thing to do creatively, but it's definitely the right thing to do if your goal is to get more views. Yeah, does that sort of answer the question?
It 100% does. And I think like one thing a lot of Spearos do is they create content for other Spearos, and you assume a certain level of knowledge and competence, and then you almost want them to understand what you're doing. But sometimes I think if you want broader appeal and you want to make money out of a YouTube channel and things like that, you have to appeal more broadly than that. And I talked to people way back in the day about how they did it, and storytelling's a massive part of it. And you've got an absolute gift for it. So like you sort of you grew up in Connecticut, so I think you've got this sort of homey American accent, but then you really know how to use tone of voice and pitch and tell a compelling story, as well as kind of keeping it simple and keeping to the main things, I guess, within the video that will appeal. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I try I try and write the video as if it's for someone who's not really an expert at spearfishing or even knows anything about it. Like,
Nice.
it was an interview I watched with this famous YouTuber, Mr. Beast. You probably know about him. And
on
he
Rogan.
said this one, huh?
The one on Rogan, Joe Rogan.
It might have been on Rogan. I can't remember where
Yep.
it was, but he said something like, if you want 10 million people to watch your video, you need 10 million people to click on it. So like if you want, not that I'm getting those kind of numbers, but if you want like 500,000 views, you can't make a video. If you want 500,000 views, you can't make a video on how to spear striped bass off the coast of Rhode Island in September. Like, it can be a great video and really informative, but it's like, I don't think there's 500,000 people who need those specific tips. And it's just what it is for YouTube, I guess. It doesn't make the video better or worse. It's just more specific.
Mate, you've done a heck of a job. Like, a lot of people aspire to, YouTube success, and I think it's an admirable career path. I mean, like I'm working 50 hours a week as in an electrical job installing street lighting. Noob Spearo is very much my sideline, and my family come in that as well. And there's a certain level of like strategic accomplishment to what you've done, and I 100% admire it, and I think it's really cool. And a lot of people want to do what you're doing, man, and you've kind of figured it out a bit. I mean, there was a timing thing there with COVID, and you were ideally situated. So let's talk about your situation. So, you sort of come out of New York, and you decided basically like to do your freediving instructors in Indonesia, and you're living there in Bali, I believe. Is that still right? Are you in Bali?
Yeah, I'm in Bali right now. I've lived here for about 4 years now. I was living in New York. I was working for my family's company. My dad's a tailor. He makes like business suits, and I was doing that for, I don't know, 8 years, long time. I didn't love it. Didn't love New York. Not much outdoor stuff to do unless you got a lot of money. And anyways, I went backpacking around Thailand and Southeast Asia. I was supposed to go for 3 months, and I ended up going to Koh Tao, which I think a lot of people do their level 1 course there. And I did it. Evan, who we know, sold me the course originally, and then skipped my flight back. And I've kind of been here within Southeast Asia ever since. And and then during COVID, just the day before the border shut in Indonesia, I came to Bali. I was going to work here as a freediving instructor up in Ahmed, which is sort of like the freediving area of Bali. And anyways, there's no tourists because of COVID. And then I was teaching English online for, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years or so.
I've done that.
Huh? Have you done that?
I taught in China for a year, but I taught in Brisbane
you?
first, and then I went and lived in China and did it. And in some ways, I'm envious of you doing it remotely because most of China is just like, not great for spearfishing. There are some parts that are like Sanya, I think, but I wasn't living in that part. I was up sort of just north of Shanghai, but similar stuff. Very interesting.
Oh yeah, same idea. Yeah, it's a big industry. They really, really want their citizens to learn English. Anyways, it was great here. I would work Saturday and Sunday each day for about 12 or 13 hours. So really long days. And so I'd clock in a 26-hour work week just on a weekend. And then Monday through Friday, I would go spearfishing every day. I had a boat captain who was my full-time employee, and I ended up buying a local boat. It's called a jukung. It's kind of more like a canoe than a boat. But okay.
Is that outrigger type deal?
Yeah, with the arms on the side.
I've seen it. I've seen it on your videos. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. And yeah, that's sort of how I learned to spearfish. That was up until really recently. I had only ever speared in Indonesia, and And
now you're getting around.
Yeah, it's still mostly in Indonesia, but I went to Florida a couple of weeks ago.
What was the similarities and differences there?
The boats are a lot nicer in Florida, that's for sure.
Some good boats come out of that part of the world. Like there's some crap ones too. Like sometimes cost is not necessarily an indicator of quality either. Like some of those boats over there seem to be really flat bottomed and really beamy, and they're just crap when you're out in any sort of rough conditions. You'd have an appreciation for the banana style boats that you come out in Indonesia. Like they're quite narrow, but they have amazing sort of like seaworthiness. A lot of them, apart from the leaks.
Yeah, apart from the leaks and all the other things that go wrong, they're great.
Yeah.
No, they're good boats, and it's so cheap. I mean, you can charter a private boat. In Bali, it's a bit more expensive, but if you go to another island, you're talking like $15 or $20 a day.
Oh, hectic.
And, that's just a private boat wherever you want to go. It's great.
Some similarities, differences. How else was it sort of similar and different?
Oh, Florida to Indonesia. Oh my gosh, it's so different. It was the biggest difference was there's like bag limits and size limits and seasons for the fish. So that was something I struggled with. There's so many different types of fish, and you have to see like, okay, this size is too big, this size is too small, and you don't really know. Like black groupers are one of the main targets out there, and they look really similar to another type of grouper, like a small Goliath grouper, but they have a different eye. And so you got to be down there and be like, what kind of eye is that? This one is off limits all year long. This one you can get, but not if it's this big or this small. And it ended up being all right, but it was definitely a change from Indonesia, where there's essentially no rules. There's basically one rule: you can't spear Napoleon wrasse, and other than that, everything's kind of fair game.
The Floridian Spearo community is quite populous. Like you're talking large numbers of people that have fairly good access to, all parts of that sort of Florida coastline. It seems to be a really well managed fishery. Did you get the sense that both areas are heavily populated, heavily fished, but the management is better? Like, is it overall? I mean, do you have any thoughts on that?
1,000,000 times better. I mean, it was amazing. It was, I went, I can't remember the name, and maybe I shouldn't even say it anyways, but it was in the Keys. From what I understand, it's kind of near where Key West Waterman does his stuff. Like you going in those, what's he called? Swiss cheese caves.
Yeah.
So we're doing that sort of thing. And there was such I mean, you would see here in Bali, especially, it's very, very heavily fished. So many local spearfish. They do it at night. They do it on scuba. They do it in the daytime. There's plenty of people like me who spearfish, and there's no rules, and there's a bunch of normal fishermen. So generally in the first 10 meters, like the first, 30 feet, you're not going to see much. Generally, I mean, you might, and it depends on the spot or whatever. But in Florida, my gosh, you'd see, like, it was almost like the technique was to float on the surface and look for a big grouper to dart into a hole like 7 or 8 meters deep, and then you go down, and there's a whole new technique for it. Was just different. Like, that's not how you do it, at least in Bali. It was cool. It was such a fun experience. I went out with this guy, Captain Jack Spearo. He's got a YouTube channel, and these brothers, Derek and Justin Van Hook, and they're all great spearers, and they really made my chances of success much, much higher. They sort of knew the good spots, told the technique, and even Jack came down with me a couple of times, and like I would point at the grouper, and I didn't really know if it's the right size or the right one. I'd look back at him. He's like, at least 2 or 3 fish were caught that way.
That's how guiding is sometimes. I mean, like, honestly though, there's a vicarious pleasure in just helping people get fish. You're doing some guiding as well. Are you instructing guiding there as well in Bali?
No, none of that.
Ah. So just
people ask, maybe one day we'll do something, but for now it's just YouTube.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We're going to geek out hard on your YouTube channel, but wanted to get into the weeds a little bit more. So this Wolf of Wall Street part that you played, I'm curious. Just tell me about that briefly.
Yeah. So for the audience, I guess, has no idea what you're talking about right now. Wolf of Wall Street, they're thinking spearfishing, Wolf of Wall Street.
Everyone's used to my, what do you call it when you get a head off on a tangent? It's like, get lost in the weeds. So you had a small part in the movie.
Yeah, I had a small part in the movie years and years ago. So my family's business, really my dad's business, is making custom business suits. Like, and so he's done a few different movies, and like he's did the suits for American Gangster and The Irishman, a number of different movies. Anyways, and one of them was The Wolf of Wall Street, and I was working for him at the time, and they had a role for a couple of tailors, which he still is, to be fitting the stockbrokers as they're on the phone selling the scam stocks or whatever.
Bogus stocks, yeah.
And so I'm in the movie, so is he. He's been in a few different movies playing as a tailor. And if you watch The Wolf of Wall Street, right around the 40-minute mark or something, you'll see You'll see me. I actually, if you pause it, I'm looking into the camera, which you're not supposed to do as an actor. And so like in the movie, Leo talks to the camera, like he breaks the wall, the fourth wall or whatever it's called. And I like to say that the only other actor in the movie who did that was me. And,
That's a good little byline. I like that. So that was Lenny pre-Aquatic Apes. So people might be interested in watching that. It adds something to the movie too when there's someone you kind of know or you're familiar with in it. So that's pretty cool. Mate, so Indo, you said like, you know, where you're around the really populated areas, like under 10 meters, kind of not a lot around. You mentioned that like, the local guys love the spearing, but most of them aren't real competent with regards to, or they just don't have the knowledge to dive deeper. I hear lots of stuff about like massive down currents, hectic current, particularly out where you're on the dogtooth ground and stuff like that. Talk to me about like, you know, let's go for a couple of options. Like, so someone goes there on a DIY trip. I mean, let's not give out GPS coordinates, but I mean, you arrive in Bali, where to from there, and how do you go about doing it, like with regards to being an English, predominantly maybe just an English speaking person?
Yeah, if you're only speaking English, you can do it, but it'll be way harder. First of all, just quick, the locals, some of the local Spearos are really amazing.
Yeah.
Like some of the best Spearos I've ever seen. They're diving deep and we'll go out for a day and I'll see nothing and they'll come back with just piles of fish. It's
yeah. I didn't mean that. I just meant like I think you said on Brett's show, like a lot of them just.
A lot of them don't. Yeah. A lot of people, they're not free dive trained. That's for sure. Even the really good ones. And, but it's a skill level that I think is born from them just trying to feed their families. And like, these guys are just so amazing at spearfishing. There's so many guys who are commercial Spearos, like they'll take people like me or any tourist out with them and they'll charge them a bit of money, but they're going out anyways. And they're out catching their peers who are rod and reel pretty much every day of the week. It's cool to see. But yeah, about down currents. So you go from Bali. It's sort of what I love to do for spearfishing now. I don't spearfish in Bali so much anymore because the flights here are very cheap. You can fly anywhere for like $100, maybe $200, depending on where you're going when you buy the ticket. But it's very cheap. And then anywhere not in Bali within Indonesia is incredibly cheap. The food is a couple of bucks a day. The hotels and places to stay, if there are hotels, it's in the realm of $10 or $20 a night. And that's for something nice. You could always just stay with like a local family for whatever you feel like giving them. They'd probably let you stay there for free if you wanted to, but you should give them something. Anyways, it's sort of the biggest doggies are in the areas where the strongest currents are. And you sort of just like look for channels where there'd be a lot of water passing through and then like a bommy or an island or a rock within that channel. And like, there's almost definitely going to be dogtooth tuna on there. Maybe 100% there's going to be dogtooth tuna on there anywhere in Indonesia. The question is how big they are. And the only way is to go there and have this big trip that takes a bunch of days to get to the spot. And then you got to negotiate with a local fisherman with a sketchy boat and then just go check it. And even then, the best spot in the world, some days the tuna just won't be there. And it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. Not that much money compared to probably anywhere else you want to go after big tuna, but definitely a lot of time.
Okay, cool. So
the currents are crazy. And to talk about the down current, it's I haven't really dove in many other spots around the world. I mean, compared to Florida, the currents were nothing, but you can see whirlpools like 3 meters tall, maybe more. It's really wild to see. It's like whitewater rapids in a lot of these spots. And there's down current, sideways current, and it's float line management is so important. Like a lot of these spots might be like a tiny little island 50 meters across, and the current can change just in an instant. And you got to keep your floats close to you, like have your line can get wrapped around a rock and there's no way you're swimming against the current, not even close. And so like when that happens, you need to fire your gun, obviously in a safe direction, so that because the gun will be ripped out of your hands otherwise. If your line's tangled, and then you're trying to untangle your line with a loaded gun, and by then the shooting line will have popped off, and it's basically just pointing at you, and you're trying to all kinds of stuff can go wrong.
Man, it's crazy. So, I mean, talk to me about a time where like you've freaked yourself out with current, and how do you manage it? Like, talk to me about what are your strategies for managing this hectic current? So, you're looking deliberately for like these tidal channels with massive current, hopefully hitting a pressure point. That's where we're going to get the bait, and therefore the dog tooth or the. But so we're deliberately putting ourselves in these environments for drifts. What are your strategies for keeping everyone safe, or at least keeping yourself safe? If you just
so a big one is float line management. Like, most people will have 2 floats on the end of their line. I've got 2 of these Ocean Hunter from New Zealand floats.
Yeah.
They're so many atmospheres. They're so big and so strong. They're great floats. I love them. And anyways, everybody's got 2 floats. And so everybody's got a 30-meter line, 100-foot line. And so the biggest thing is getting tangled with each other, and then getting tangled on like rocks and stuff that are either sticking out or like 1 meter under the water. And so basically, how can I describe this for audio? Like, you've got your gun in one hand, obviously, and then I try and keep my floats. I hold the line about 3 or 4 meters away from the floats, also, so that trailing behind me is not my floats, but just the slack of the line. And that way, you're not going to get tangled up on your buddy's line, and you're less likely to get tangled up on rocks and stuff. And so sort of as you're swimming to wherever you want to be, you're looking for the pressure point. I'll be sort of like pulling the line up and up, pulling the floats closer and closer and closer. It's just part of my swimming thing. And then eventually I've got my floats 2 or 3 meters away from me with the line in one hand, and then my spear gun in the other. And then
so do you have it coiled, or do you have it hanging down in lengths? You coil
it's not
line
coiled, just sort of like hanging behind me.
Okay.
The float line, the float line is pretty buoyant.
Yeah.
So
I watched one of your vids where you got a little bit tangled, I think, with a wahoo, and then it ended up tearing off. Have I got that right? Or was it a
wahoo? I mean, I've had plenty of wahoo tear off.
And you just like when a float line, I mean, this is a good one, like where your line tangles around your leg or something, and you just end up putting more tension on a shooting line than you wanted to, particularly with a crap shot and a fish tears off.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that was at the Fads. Yeah, that was just stupid. I was a little rusty. Like when I go out with a float line, like I'm going on a doggy trip in about a month and a half now, and the first couple of days, the first day, you're really kind of just getting used to diving with 2 floats in the line and a giant gun the size of a tree, and so that time with the wahoo, it was around like the end of my fin, and it wasn't the best shot in the fish, and it ended up breaking free. It might have broken free anyways, but it definitely did because it had no slack.
You've touched on a couple of really interesting things there. So like largely you're reef hunting. Every now and then you're getting out for these big blue water expeditions. One of the things you touched on that I can 100% relate to, and I think a lot of people can, is the first day or two when you're out doing something, you haven't done it for a while, you tend to be really rusty and shit. And I'm hoping everyone is like that, at least to some level. How do you, like, there's 2 things there. I think guys want to come out and do like a blue water trip, and, every day you're out there is like money and time. And so a lot of guys will try and punch a 4 or 5 day, blue water expedition. And sometimes you lose a day or 2 just because you're rusty and stuff like that. How do you, what's your sort of rules for how long you go out for on a blue water trip? And how do you factor in that rusty period, and what do you do to overcome it?
Yeah, so I've like, you see people who will go on these trips and like they buy a brand new gun, say from Andre Spear Guns, when they arrive to Bali, and then the next day they go out. Like, in my opinion, that's not the right way to do it. You need to spend at least a day in the pool with the guns. Like, you got to bring a couple of spears and know each spear, know that every single one is going to shoot straight. You can't be unpackaging your gun once you arrive to whatever remote spot you're going. So you got to target, pool test the gun, be familiar with it, know that it's going to shoot straight. You don't want to find out that something's going wrong when you're all the way there. And the other thing, like diving with the float line, like if you could just bring your big tuna gun out with you wherever you are, and just, I don't know, if you're in Australia, just try and spear kingfish with a 160 centimeter gun. Not because it's the right gun, but maybe just because you want to get used to like maneuvering it in the water, and so you're not learning on day one
how to shoot it again, how to maneuver with it, how to swim with it, how to duck dive with it. All of these things kind of like you take for granted when you know your gun really well, but when you have forgotten because you haven't used it for so long, or you've been using a different setup, it's really painful. Are you using breakaway setup?
For doggies, yeah. I've got you got to use a breakaway setup, really.
Yeah.
So that's expensive. You might lose it otherwise. I don't know.
That can be hard to get used to as well. Like, walk me through your spear gun setup now. I know you've got a big Andre inverted roller, or you used to. What's your sort of your main rig now for shooting dogtooth? Yeah,
for shooting doggies, I've got what I've been using for years is the 165 inverted roller from Andre Spear Guns. It's an amazing gun. It shoots so straight, and it's reliable. It's a good price for what it is. It's probably the best value big tuna gun out there. And there's a lot of good companies. I just got a new gun from this new company my buddy Paul started, Kraken Spear Guns.
Yep.
So actually, on the wall behind me, I've got a 155 Kraken double roller. I haven't tried it out in the pool yet. So when I go on this trip in 6 weeks, I'm probably going to bring both, just because it's a brand new gun, and I don't know, just in case. Like I'll have the other one that I know works. And but both great guns.
Guns, when you shoot a special fish or you've put a number of like runs on it, they become old faithful, and it's very hard to let go of old faithful, even when you've got a shiny new toy there. So I relate to that. Yeah, nice, man.
But the rest of the doggy rig, so I've it wasn't always like this. I guess for everyone, you sort of trial and error. I remember my first couple of trips going after them. I really had no idea what my rig was supposed to be, and I paid the price. Still the biggest doggy I've ever seen today. I don't know how big it was, but I don't know. It's hard to guess. Massive, bigger than anyone I've ever seen. Placed a good shot into its back, and the freaking crimp slipped off. And that's just because I didn't do the crimp myself. Now I always do the crimps myself, and I'm very meticulous about it. There's no way whatever guy at whatever shop is going to be as meticulous as I am. Anyways, so big gun, big spear. And then I've got a cable with 2.5 wraps on it for a breakaway setup. And then a carabiner, just a normal rope float line. I don't know if there's any brand for it, but it's just like some sort of a rope, and 30 meters.
We call it like telecom rope here. It's fairly rigid. Is it like a poly type line? Like
yeah, that's exactly it. Yep. And 30-meter line, and then
no bungee, 2 of those. Nothing to soften that.
No bungee, because they're gonna, at least for here, from the experienced guys in Indonesia that I've gone out with and spoken to, the doggy's gonna go down for the reef, and
try and
you
bury
just need to keep them away from the reef at all costs. And if it was true blue water, if they were out in 1,000 meters of depth, of course the bungee would be better. But just for this situation, you have to risk the tear out, I think.
Yeah.
And I've been taught. No bungee, and not even between the two floats, no bungee, just all rope.
Wow. And how far between floats?
How much? A couple of meters. I'm not sure exactly. Like, I don't know, a couple of float lengths. That's basically the rig. It's pretty simple. I know some people have like tried to keep their doggy rigs secret, and I don't know. I get keeping the spots secret. Obviously, you should do that. But like, if you just let people go out with maybe a less than perfect rig, you're just going to end up losing more fish, and the doggy population will suffer because of it. And that person needs to shoot even more to get that big fish they want. I think it's good to share the rig, I think.
This is my thought. Like my personal opinion is like share the rig, because like hopefully you'll give people a higher percentage of take home fish, because, and I think you and Brett touched on this. You were talking about like, maybe 2 in 10 dogtooth, like guys shoot at what they actually put on the boat. And it's a pretty shit ratio. Like if we're honest about it. But,
2 in 10, that might've been my ratio then. It's much higher now. I think once you're comfortable with your gun and your rig, it's it's you can get those numbers way higher.
Okay,
Like
so
now,
talk to me about getting those numbers higher. It sounds like you've gone on a journey there from 2 to 10 to, let's say you're taking 1 and 2 now, whereas you were 1 and 5 before. Would it be something like that now, or?
I don't know what it was before. Before when I talked to Brett. Well, now it's higher. Like basically, if you place a good shot with a rig like what I've got, like either sharks will get it, which isn't likely here in Indo, or it will take both of your floats down so deep and then get reefed up that you couldn't possibly dive down to untangle it, which is like part of the reality of having a cable. But the other thing is, like, if it gets reefed up in 20 meters with the cable, then you could probably go down and do something about it. But yeah, it's just about placing a good shot. There's so many debates as to where that shot placement is. Gill plate, tail, behind the pec fin.
What's your recipe? Where do you like to shoot them?
I'll go for near the pectoral fin. It's just
so much sinew and bone.
There's so much going on around there. So many potentials for a good shot in that area. But I don't know. I've seen there's this dude in Japan. I don't know his name, but I think his Instagram handle is like Mission 100 Films or something.
I think I've seen this guy.
This dude is spearing 90, 100 kilo doggies with a homemade pole spear. And there's this one crazy video he's got where it's a massive doggy, so close. It must be 1 meter away from him. And he could hit the fish anywhere he wants with that pole spear. And he goes right for the tail. And
wow.
It's a crazy video on Instagram. You should, whoever's listening should check it out. It's I've never seen anything like it. He never shows the ending of what happens with any of these fish. I think he's coming out with a big feature film or something. But I wish he would show the ending. I want to know what happened after that. But he could have chosen anywhere on that doggy, and he chose to put it sort of right above the anal fin and whatever fin's right above the anal fin. That's sort of right where he aimed.
Yeah, righto. Far out. That's very cool. I mean, again, like a lot of tough structure there, I guess. I've never been dogtooth hunting. I really want to do it. It's coming one of these days. Need to get a massive leave pass. I don't know how much goodwill I'd need to build with my wife first, but it's coming. Indonesia's like only a short, hop really away from Australia. For your average DIY person on a fairly low budget, what do you recommend they do? So where should they fly into, and what opportunities should they look for?
You can chase doggies in Bali. There are still big ones here, but they're much, much smarter and rarer. And your chance of success will be so much higher on other islands. But if you're really on a budget, you can come to Bali. And there's places here. There's plenty of guides around the island that you can call, and they'll put you on the doggy spots, and relatively inexpensively compared to the rest of the world. I mean, it was only 3 or 4 weeks ago, somebody landed, I think it was 80-something kilo doggy here in Bali, which is wild. Wow. The world record that Cameron Kirkconnell shot years and years ago was not very far from Bali. And but if you really want to go get a big doggy, you don't want to be on Bali. You want to go to other parts of Indonesia or French Polynesia or wherever.
I love that feeling underwater when you pull the trigger and you know exactly where that shaft is going. You want something dependable. You want to put that fish that you've been chasing for a lifetime in the boat, in the cooler, in the esky, in the chili bin if you're in New Zealand. Why do we call all these things different names? Anyway, today's show sponsor, KillshotSpearguns.com, make awesome wooden timber spear guns, a fantastic shooting platform. If you've ever shot a big timber gun, you know the reliability that you get from these things. He mostly makes enclosed track spear guns. Visit him at KillshotSpearguns.com. Use the code Noob to save $30 on any Killshot spear gun.
Hey guys, not sure how you stay hydrated out on the boats on those long days out on the water, but staying hydrated is absolutely critical towards good equalization and looking after your body, making sure you're not doing those awkward one-legged kicks to the surface when one leg cramps out on you. Go to aqualite.com.au, and get yourself a box of sachets. You just simply add them to water. It's less than $1.28 per serve. It's cheaper and healthier than any other sports drinks on the market. Aqualite will make a difference in your spearfishing. Check it out at aqualite.com.au. Use the code NoobSpearo to save 10% on any order. Check it out. Aqualite, made in Western Australia. Got a sweet deal for you today, guys. Go to freedivingfamily.com and learn from Adam Stern and a select team of experts on different disciplines. There's Frenzel, advanced Frenzel and hands-free equalization, mouthful, deep Frenzel equalization, bi-finning essentials. These are courses that will give you the 1% that will allow you to improve. Use the code Spearo to get 20% off any course at freedivingfamily.com. Again, that's the code Spearo to get 20% off at freedivingfamily.com. Thanks, Adam and team. Love it. We don't have to stick to just dogtooth, Lenny. I think the spearing world and even probably maybe the YouTube world fall in love with big fish and stuff like that. But talk to me about what you're passionate about. What do you like doing when you go out spearing?
I love going after big doggies. That's my favorite thing.
Is it really? Does it just take over?
Your level of your threshold of excitement and what like when you first start spearing, you spear whatever fish and it's the coolest thing in the world and the biggest thing you've ever seen in your life. And it's so exciting. And that threshold constantly changes and changes and changes. And then, at least in my experience and most of my friends' experience, when you start going after those bigger ones, it's less exciting than what was once normal spearfishing for you.
That's a shame.
Huh?
It's an honest answer. I do think it's a shame. Like, but do you still appreciate shooting dinner? Like, I remember watching one of your earlier vids and you smashed I think maybe it was you just got a new spear gun with your stimulus check and you went out and smashed like a surgeon fish or something like that. And you cooked that up and it looked like a really nice meal. Does that still appeal to you, that stuff as well?
It's funny you said that because just yesterday I was out spearfishing and there was basically nothing around, and I ended up spearing a good sized surgeon fish, which we're going to cook this evening. And it was for that reason. Like I just hadn't had one in a while, and I was like, I used to eat these things all the time. It's still a good fish.
Have you dry aged one?
No, I haven't. They asked on the boat yesterday. One of my buddies actually. No, I haven't. Is it good?
Oh, it's insane. I do. Like everyone's starting to get real elaborate with these days. Like you see guys with like a you buy an old freestanding refrigerator and you can weld a bar in the top and hang your own metal hooks. And then you hang them by their tail, head down. You can put like a couple of computer fans, wire them into the fridge, and then, get that air circulating. And then these guys have got these really cool DIY elaborate setups. Love that idea. For me personally, like I have got a fridge that I've prepared to kind of do that, but I have not had time to get out there and sort of retrofit it. For me, like I'll shoot a surgeon fish and I just knock the fillets off, leave the skin on, and then wrap them in paper towel, like completely dry them, make sure I don't introduce any fresh water, wrap them in paper towel, put them in a Ziploc bag, and put them in the fridge for 24 hours, pull it out, change the paper towel, put it back in the Ziploc bag, put it back in the fridge for another 24, 48 hours, and pull that out. It'll be some of the best fish you've eaten in your life. I'm telling you.
Really?
Just
and
a
you do it for all
plain
fish?
Surgeon fish. I haven't done it on all fish. Surgeon fish in particular, I do it with, and I'll make like ceviche for my wife and kids, and they're not like super fishy lover type people. They like fairly, but the flavor profile in those fish when they've had like 2 or 3 days dry aging, it's unbelievable. Like it's just something else. It's next level.
I'll do that with this one.
Yeah, do it, man.
I'm going to go in after this podcast. I'll go set it up.
even after this, jump in, wrap it in paper towel, put it in a paper bag. If you don't want to eat it tonight, it's probably going to be even better tomorrow,
Yeah, okay.
Or even if you just keep one fillet for that. And I don't know. Have you mixed it much with ceviches? Do you get
not
into
surgeon
them
fish, but I make it often with other types of fish.
How's your ceviche go? What do you do?
Oh, you'd have to ask my girlfriend. I don't know.
There's a couple of crackers, like my personal favorite, like is in the book I've got, the 99 Spare Recipes, but passion fruit and like and lime, those flavors with cilantro or coriander. It's just so good, man. A lot of people think that's blasphemy adding coriander, but it's definitely a for and against camp with coriander. But
we have coriander in it. That's one of the
yeah,
ingredients.
yeah. The Asian countries, man, have got such a greater appreciation and variety for vegetables. Like you go to a fruit market, I don't know, in China, and there's like, it just seems like there's way more variety. What about there in Indo? What's it like there?
I'd say less so than Chinese food, less so than Vietnamese or even Thai food. Here, the veggies are often sauteed in some sort of a local oil, and it's often this one specific type of vegetable. I can't remember the name of it, but it's not something you would see in the Western world. I think that sort of standard being for the average local village food vegetable in Indonesia probably comes from the fact that they don't have like refrigerators in a lot of these places, and it's just a way of making sure that they're cooked properly and in a way that's not going to get you sick. But it's less exciting than like Chinese food vegetables. I know what you're talking about.
Indo belly, talk to me about the adjustment with your digestive tract to
how much time do you have?
Have you scared yourself? Like I remember you talking about the health system and stuff, and like I think there's a level of naivety when it comes to like just how bad shit can go wrong in those countries when you don't have like, I mean, maybe your healthcare is good there. I don't know. Talk to me about it.
Well, let's talk about Bali belly first. I don't ever not have Bali belly. It's just varying levels of urgency. Honestly, for years, like it's just, it is what it is. Like if you go for a run, you got to know where the toilets are. And I eat a lot of different types of food. I eat a lot of local food, although I do think the Western food is honestly the main culprit for Bali belly, to be honest. The worst I've ever had, I was going to a remote island. Or no, wait, was I going? Yeah, I was going to a remote place, and I was in this city called Makassar, it's a big city in Indonesia. Anyways, at the airport there, we were doing a transfer flight to somewhere else, and there was an A&W, like the burger joint. And I was like, oh, I could go for a cheeseburger right now. And so I ordered it, and then we took the flight. It was like an hour or two to go on somewhere else. And then we were then taking a ferry, which we would sleep on to go to another island. And I couldn't stop vomiting and having diarrhea. And when you're that remote, there's no toilet paper anywhere. There's not even toilets. There's just holes in the ground. Right. And it was just squatting and then turning around as fast as I can. And yeah, it's not that unusual of a
rugged.
Maybe that's too much for your listeners to
No, I don't know if you've listened to the podcast, but it's like a regular feature on the show. We have to have some sort of poo story, so that's great.
I got more.
Yeah. High-waisted pants, they're a necessity then? So like
high-waisted pants? I don't know.
Rather than wearing like a Farmer John, like you can get them down in a hurry and just do your business.
Just be wary of farts, I'd say. They're not always farts. I just went and filmed. I haven't made this video yet, but there's a village in Indonesia of whale hunters. And they sort of hunt all kinds of different animals, but they're famous for hunting whales. Like they're one of the few indigenous peoples in the world which are still allowed to do their thousands of year old tradition of hunting whales. Anyways, I lived with them for a week and went out with them. And on the last night, we kind of had like a bit of a celebration. We were drinking what's called tuak, which is like palm wine. It's in like a gasoline tank. And like you get like a big 2-gallon thing. It's about $1.50 for that. And yeah, anyways, on the bus ride back to the airport after that, I thought I was farting, and it wasn't a fart. And that's the last one. We don't have to have the whole podcast.
No, love it. Teaspoon
me
of soup.
Shitting myself.
That's a good bonus with a fart. Mate, let's get into your YouTube channel.
Cool.
So I already mentioned the stimulus check video. I don't think that's one of the earliest videos you've made. Have you?
I think that was my very first video.
Was that? Have you deleted videos or have you left them? You've left them all.
My very first one, I think so there's two versions. There's a long version, which is 4 or 5 minutes. And then there's a short vertical version, like a TikTok style.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the one you saw. That was not my first one. But
No. I just like when I think about like making stuff, right? Like there's a real temptation when you listen to your earlier stuff or watch it in your case, to just go, shit, I should have binned that. You know, like, I don't know. Have you ever, like, how do you feel? Do you like cringe and stuff when you look at any of your old stuff?
Oh, I cringe if I watch the last video I made. I hate all of them. But yeah, especially the early ones. Oh, I would try and talk to the camera. Looks like a hostage video. I would have all of this space above my head, and I was just, yeah. It is what it is. It's the only way to learn, right?
Look like a hostage video. I like that. That gives you an instant sort of like reference for it. That's fantastic.
But my first video ever was, I did get the stimulus check from the US. Every American got, I think it was $1,300. And I went and bought some Andre Spear gun with that. And that was my first video. And sort of, I think what's a little different about my YouTube channel is I learned to spearfish with a GoPro on my head, making these videos. I don't think I've ever speared a fish not on camera. They're not all on my channel, but I have every single footage. And like, if you see my early stuff, you'll see I was clearly learning how to spearfish. And one of the first videos, I think I mixed up a barracuda with a wahoo and just silly things. And like, I'd get really excited over a fish that I wouldn't even look at today. And
and that's completely normal. It's in some ways, I think that's what people like. They like that authenticity and the fact that they're going on a journey with you. And you know, you never tried to convince people that you were an expert at the start. And like slowly over time, you just sort of, you know, as you get runs on the board and you start to do more and more, your knowledge does grow, and so does your skills, and it's evident in your videos for sure.
Yeah. I do like those expert videos, like for an actual Spearo. Like I don't know, like some of these guys are just so knowledgeable. You learn so much from their videos.
I don't know. Have you watched Tim McDonald's revitalized YouTube channel?
I was just thinking about that. Yeah, I watched his stuff.
Mate,
great.
Holy shit! Like there is so much to pick apart in those videos. Like they are like a Spearo's. Like if you want a master class, like you just watch his videos and you learn so much. Often by what is not said, but what is unspoken. And I don't even know if Tim is enjoying giving away as much as he is, because some of it, like it just comes out, and he knows what he's given out, but he's not real happy with it sometimes.
They're good though. They're well produced. It's an original style too. I think he's going to find himself getting more and more views.
He's partnered up with someone really talented, and
clearly you can see it.
It's a collaborative effort, and I think like one of the beauties of collaborations is, you know, you get the best of kind of everyone. And have you collaborated on any of your stuff, or has it always been a solo kind of effort?
Like with other like YouTubers?
Yeah, or just even got other people editing videos or helping a film, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so I have my good friend Dieter is he's a good Spearo, amazing free diver. He's like almost an 80-meter diver or something. So he comes with me on a lot of these trips, sort of as cameraman. I've got a Sony camera, and he comes with a third-person perspective, and also like added benefit of kind of having like a dedicated safety as well, who's not looking for fish himself. Good photographer, good videographer, amazing diver, good friend. And so he comes with me a lot of the time. I've got a local guy who's cameraman. He's not much of a diver, but very good cameraman for just B-roll and stuff. And then my girlfriend as well, she does some of the editing and some of the filming and the thumbnails as well.
Sometimes it's so cool when you're behind a camera, because when you're thinking like through the lens and you're looking at a screen, like I'm a really sort of a monotasker, but I can get really good stuff. But when you're trying to make a spearfishing film and you're kind of like the chief person in the middle of the camera and you're thinking about the storyline, and you're not really thinking about all the cool B-roll that you need to put together a story and all that sort of stuff. So that must be really rewarding, having those people capturing that stuff. It's sometimes
amazing. Yeah. It's exactly what you said. So you don't have to think about the B-roll, and you're trying to spearfish, which is hard enough. And then you're also trying to direct a film being made. And it's
and then spearfish competently as well on top of that.
Yeah, like, I do that as well.
Because spearing is like such a demanding, you know, outworking of your energy. Like if you're spearfishing properly, you're not thinking about anything else except what you're doing in front of you. You know, like there's moments on the surface and shore when you're, you know, talking and doing stuff and organizing and stuff. But really, like when you're in the moment, you should be in the moment. You're not really like thinking about the film. I mean, maybe on your way back to the surface, you start thinking about it. But
for me, it's different. They're all together for me. Which honestly, sometimes it's a bad thing, but often it's a really nice thing. Like it adds a whole nother component to spearfishing. Like for instance, like I went on this remote trip with Evan Stafford, who was on your trip with you. And I was looking at his GoPro footage compared to mine. And I realized that I've sort of trained myself, like for instance, after spearing a fish, my head is not going to move. I'm going to track the fish slowly because I know that there's a camera on my forehead and I'm going to want that footage later. Yeah. Whereas Evan is not a YouTuber. He's just a normal person who likes to spearfish. And like it was a very clear difference between his footage and mine. And I didn't even realize that I had trained myself to do that, but I'm always sort of in that mode, for better or for worse.
Yeah, you watch someone's if they've got a head mount on, it teaches you an awful lot about how you dive. Like even your head position when you're descending, how fast you're moving on the bottom, why you're spooking the good fish. You know, like if your head's moving too fast, you know, like on a swivel, because you're thinking I've got 5 seconds of bottom time here, so I'm going to try and look at everything 15 times.
Yeah.
Like it comes out pretty quick in your GoPro footage, doesn't it?
Yeah. And Ryan Myers always talks about that, right?
Oh, does he?
And so many of his videos, he says, move slowly.
Yeah. He's got a really majestic dive style, I reckon. He's just he's very precise sometimes, Ryan, and he's good at teaching others too, which is why I think his YouTube channel does so well.
Yes, such a good diver, such a good teacher. I mean, I learned so much from his videos, and so many people do. So many people I talk to, especially because the fish in Hawaii are similar to the fish here, like the moo or the jobfish, and
yeah. Love it. Tim Ferriss, 4-Hour Workweek. Talk to me about that. It's had a bit of an influence on you personally. You're a very entrepreneurial guy. Talk to me about how it fits in with what you're doing.
I did talk about that in past videos, didn't I?
You mentioned it, and I'll show you something.
Nice, awesome.
Yeah, it's been a massive influence on me, and a lot of levels. And Tim Ferriss' podcast was huge for helping me kind of refine my style and think about my format in the early days. Really enjoy his thoughtful approach and the way he interviews people, and his books. I mean, that book in particular, like it's not only like highly educational in terms of stripping away a lot of bullshit from your secondary school sort of education, some of the hangovers from the way we're, you know, brought up through a formal education system, but you know, the life learning and life skills I got out of it were phenomenal. And I knew we shared that. So I thought I would ask you a bit more about it.
Yeah. The book changed my life as well. I was reading it. I read it for the first time when I was in New York. And there's a line in the book where he says something to the effect of, you want to earn in dollars and spend in, I think he said pesos or something. Like he was talking about Argentina or Mexico, but like the idea is basically you want to earn in the Western world and live in a much less expensive place, whether it's South America or somewhere in Southeast Asia, and you can live a much better life. I don't know how ethical that is for the. It seems like an unfair quote when you think about someone who maybe was born in Indonesia, but it doesn't make it less true, and
makes you grateful.
Yeah, it makes you grateful, and I think it's a great piece of advice. And it's I ended up doing it before even this YouTube channel. Like I was earning in dollars, teaching English, and then living in rupiahs in Indonesia, and I was able to live comfortably, buy a boat, have a full-time boat captain, all from just working 2 days a week teaching English online to Chinese kids. And you could never have done that in the US. And it gave me the time to then shift and build up this YouTube channel. And I had all the time in the world to learn how to edit, learn how to do thumbnails and make videos and build a YouTube channel. And it would have been I don't know if impossible is the word, but a million times harder if you had to have a normal 9 to 5 or 8 to 6, 5 days a week, 6 days a week in the US, and you just are exhausted afterwards and you have so much less time to pursue it. And I think that was sort of the point of his book, right? Like, I think he even says something along the lines of, you don't want to find this financial freedom just so that you can go drink margaritas on the beach, but so then you can learn to play the guitar or write that novel or do whatever it is. And it's I think the book still holds up today, 15 years later.
I think if you're a young single man, like, or woman, and you're like early 20s, late teens, read that book. Like, it's there's some transformative ideas that just help you unlock some gross, like, heuristics that can help you just do life a whole lot better. Unfortunately, I just had 4 kids and stayed in Australia. But yeah, well, 2 stepsons and 2 natural, but like, it does keep you kind of grounded. And I think, the principles hold true even with the book in my life. But the sort of the vagabonding and the intentional vagabonding, where you essentially, like, not delaying your retirement until you're old, but doing it while you're young and fit and have a lot of vitality and energy, and you can still do and set some of the same goals as if you were living in a normal country. But I thought that was an interesting tie-in for your lifestyle and your orientation with this YouTube channel. Getting back to your YouTube channel, one question before I want to dig into some of the nuts and bolts stuff behind a YouTube channel like yours. But before there, you've sort of disengaged a little bit from the front face of your YouTube channel by the sounds of it. So that doesn't mean you're getting into the weeds of the comments section. With that decision there, was that where you started being a bit more free with regards to, like, making controversial videos and shit? Because, like, you've done a series called Dear Karens. This one's for you, and you'd say and do stuff that deliberately riles up proportions, very small proportions, but they're very vocal minorities in our sort of population. Did they coincide? Or was that just a happy coincidence?
Sorry, can you rephrase that? I'm not sure what you mean.
There's a huge and blocky question that meant nothing as usual. Like, you were talking about how you sort of disengaged from the front face of your YouTube channel. Like, you're not paying too much attention to the numbers, and I'm assuming not too much attention to the comments. Is that right?
Yeah. I feel bad about it. I don't ever read the comments or respond to them, and I wish I could, because they're almost all positive, and so many people who just want to learn more about maybe living in Indonesia or spearfishing or diving, or why my ears don't hurt when I go that deep. But I just don't know if it's just not good for me. The comments and the numbers aren't good for me. They're good in, like, in the broader picture, like the viewer retention rate or the average view duration of a video. I know those numbers. I know what the click-through rate of the thumbnail is. But to know the exact number of people that end up watching it, and I'm elated by the high number or, like, severely depressed by the low number, like, that I wanted to distance myself from. And the unfortunate, like, reality of doing that means that also, like, I can't engage with the audience in the comments section. But they're all, like, positive, really. Like, even the Dear Karen stuff, like, I kind of just picked on specific negative ones because I thought it would, I don't know, I thought I had a funny script in my mind. Like, I think the best one is Dear Karen's Part 2. But that video ended up getting banned from, not banned, like, they, like, sort of, it's complicated, but they censored it on YouTube. It was a 1 out of 10. And then, so the graph is going up, 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 up. It had an amazing click-through rate, close to like 20%, a good average view duration, and tons of comments. And it was 1 out of 10. But then after a day and a half, it was just like a steep drop in the graph. And then YouTube sent me an email and said, violates whatever
community standards,
which is part of it. YouTube's pretty good, to be fair. TikTok, I don't even post there. I've got about 700,000 subscribers there, but I haven't posted in, I think, a year or so, just because every video almost gets community guidelines violation, and they threaten to delete the channel. And that's sort of what the Dear Karen's video was about, me sort of moaning about TikTok censoring on YouTube, and then YouTube censored that video. You can't fight them. There's no way of doing it. I don't know what you're supposed to do. You just got to play by the rules.
Well, this is part of the problem with being on someone else's platform. And,
for sure. But like, it's good. Like YouTube's pretty fair. To be fair with YouTube, they could be worse as far as hunting and fishing goes. Like they don't want you to show blood. And I get that. Like, fair enough. But they'll let you make the video otherwise. You see Meat Eater making their stuff all the time, and plenty of people getting a lot of views. Daniel Mann, deer meat for dinner, back to basics. Like they're pretty fair, I think.
Okay.
For the most part.
Well, and they pay the bills for you too. So yeah. Did you get in trouble with PETA or PETA or however you say their name? Like I remember the part 3 you specifically mentioned them. Did you get any blowback from that?
Not that I know of. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought
they probably didn't comment.
yeah. Oh, I don't know. Ocean Guardian is the world's leading shark deterrent technology. And the great news is they're now partners with the Noob Spearo podcast. You can save 10% on the Freedom 7 or Scuba 7 when you shop at Ocean Guardian. Use the code Noob Spearo at checkout to save 10%. If you want to go there, easy, super easy, go to noobspearo.com/OG. Short for Ocean Guardian. Pretty original, eh? Pump in the code Noob Spearo and you'll save 10% on your Shark Shield device. Get into it, get amongst it. Ocean Guardian are doing awesome things for Spearos.
Are you in the market for a new spear gun? Killshot Spear Guns has got blue water wahoo tuna guns, open track spear guns, enclosed track spear guns, rear handle enclosed tracks. Check them out at killshotspearguns.com. Even better, I've got some good news for you. You can save $30 on any Killshot Spear Gun at killshotspearguns.com. Use the code Noob. If you're in store, just say crikey, mate, or say Shrek from the Noob Spearo sent you, and you'll save $30. Ed Martin at killshotspearguns.com. Check them out.
Equalizing problems can be something that derail you. Not today, my friend. Go to freedivingfamily.com. Check out either the Frenzel and Advanced Frenzel video or the Mouthful and Deep Frenzel Equalization course at freedivingfamily.com. You can use the code Spearo to get 20% off any course at freedivingfamily.com. These courses are put together by Adam Stern and a select team of legends, and to help you overcome different issues and help you perform better. And some of them are extremely relevant for freedive spearing. Check it out at freedivingfamily.com. Use the code Spearo to get 20% off any course. All right, cool. Let's get into some nuts and bolts. So sourcing music, like your taste in music is very clever.
My what?
Your taste in music with regards to how you use it in your you use it as a device to help tell the story and build mood and intentionality in the videos, I think. How do you source it?
Well, I've got Epidemic Sound and Artlist, which is sort of just like you pay $5 or $10 a month, and it's they have a bunch of artists and a bunch of different styles of music you can choose from. And I also like to use classical music, just because it's already pretty epic, and it's all
Where do you
free,
source that from?
Free. Just YouTube. It's all copyright free. Like Beethoven doesn't have a copyright on his stuff anymore.
If it's been re-recorded by a modern symphony orchestra, though, you still don't have to do anything.
You do if it's from like the Philharmonic Orchestra, you do, but there's copyright-free versions of all that stuff. All those famous songs, you can find it fairly easily. One of my videos recently, the channel had been in a bit of a slump and I needed money, and the end video, I really wanted the song "Oh Fortuna" at the end, but I couldn't find a copyright version, and I wanted to use it and just say, can I say fuck it? I was like, fuck it. I don't care about the money. This is the right song for the ending.
Yeah.
And I was convinced otherwise and switched the song out for something that was copyright free. But you can choose any song you want. If you're making a video, especially if it's a starting like a new channel and it's not really making much or anything at all, just put Drake in there or whatever you feel like. It doesn't matter. Any little bit of money is going to go to him. It's not like illegal. You just won't earn the money. But
yeah. Do you think it's almost worth doing that if you want to grow a channel quickly? Is to use legit good music, and then
it's arguably worth doing it, even like if you're earning money, like I make my living doing it, but like maybe you should make the decision based on what's going to make the best video, not what's going to make you the most money. Like I kind of regret not putting it at the end. I 100% regret not putting it at the end.
I remember I spent 3 days. I made this one video. It's like 28 minutes long or something. It's like I went down to South Australia, dove these Kilsby sinkholes and a bunch of the ponds down there, went and caught some lobster and stuff like that. And it was just a cool hangout with my mate Cam. And we videoed it and we talked through it and it was pretty cool. I did not really like gamify it with regards to making it like high energy or anything like that, but it was like a cool thing from the trip. And then it instantly got demonetized and stuff like that. And like, you know, after you sort of publish something, you're like, well, it's the way I want it. And I thought I was using all music that was licensed under Creative Commons and all this sort of stuff. And then I was kind of angry because I'd spent 3 days friggin' editing it. And I kind of thought, well, it probably will earn me like $25 over its entire life. Why not, you know, but I don't know. It's a funny thing making videos.
It's frustrating. It seems like there should be a better solution where you can like offer to pay Drake $20 or something rather than having to give him all of your AdSense revenue. And I think they're probably trying to figure something. I think they are working on it, but it's complicated with record labels. And to be fair, if I was the creator of the music, I would not think it's cool if someone just took it and didn't compensate me for it. Like,
yeah.
It's just old rules. It's old rules for YouTube, for the internet. It's TV rules for the internet. They need to update them, I think.
I think most people want to credit the artists, you know, like I genuinely give them credit. I almost feel like with AI, they can automatically generate a credit for the artist in a song and then give them a portion of it. But yeah, anyway, we're getting into the super weeds here with music. Yeah. Monetization. So are you comfortable to talk about monetization with your channel?
Yeah, sure.
We don't have to go into all the numbers and stuff, but there's a whole bunch of different ways to monetize a channel. Like a lot of people have these ambitions of making money out of YouTube, but I don't think people will realize how much is involved in it. Like I can see with your channel, you've got affiliate money in there. You've got the AdSense revenue from the views. You make your own merch that's up on aquaticapes.com, and you're doing these sponsors, which I think are affiliate type deals as well. Is that right?
They're not affiliate deals, the sponsors, but yeah.
Yeah.
So the easiest way to earn money is just from YouTube or TikTok or whatever. Like they pay you once you reach a certain threshold. I can't remember what the threshold is, but it's not very much, because even if it was monetized before that, the earnings would be less than $10 or something. So once you meet the threshold, then you can start earning. And even then it won't be much, but YouTube pays you basically half of whatever advertising money they earn from the ads that run at the beginning. They pay you a little differently for the YouTube Shorts, and TikTok pays you a little differently as well. But from what I understood, TikTok just started paying way more, closer to what YouTube pays for the views, which is interesting. Makes me want to make videos not about spearfishing on there. Anyways, that's the first way, easiest way to make money. You don't have to think about it. All you have to do is push a button. Yes, I want to earn money once you get enough views. And don't be discouraged by the threshold, because really, like, you're not missing out on anything before you reach that threshold. You're missing out on well under $100 total.
You're better off focusing on just making good videos.
Yeah, you're better off focusing. And that's probably never changes, really. That's always the case. And then other than that,
I think that threshold's like 2,000 subscribers or something.
It's something like that. I think it's 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours for YouTube longs, and then it's something different for shorts. Don't worry about it, really. If someone's thinking about starting it, when you meet the threshold, even the money you're going to earn won't be enough to quit your day job on. And then you can earn money from selling merch. I sell these hats. I'm wearing one now, but anyways, and that's, I don't know. It depends on your merch. Like there's different levels. Like if you have a shirt that says Aquatic Apes on it, which I do have on there, I've sold almost none, but the hats are a bit more widely, people are more interested in. I think it has a broader appeal than just, I like to watch Aquatic Apes YouTube channel on the front of the shirt. And then there's different levels of merch. Like the trip that you just did is merch, kind of like it's something you're selling to your audience. Like it's a way of monetizing the channel. It's not merch, but
trips and charters.
Yeah, and so like
courses.
some people can earn way more from merch than from YouTube AdSense. I'm not one of them. And then beyond that, the next obvious way to monetize, which you need a bit of a bigger following for, is sponsors. And for most YouTubers, that's where you earn most of the money from.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Cool. Like someone said back in the day, like, you know, like 1,000 views on a video is like $1 or something, like a real sort of AdSense revenue. I guess as you grow and you build a following and stuff, then you can kind of get like a compound effect, I guess, on that when you add in sponsors and some of the other stuff you're doing.
Yeah, the sponsor is like it's called CPM, which is cost per milli, which is basically how much money you earn per 1,000 views. On YouTube, depending on the type of content you make, it can be anywhere from $2 to people who make like specific finance videos. I think they earn like upwards of $20 or $30 per 1,000 views.
Wow.
It's wild. I don't think anyone making spearfishing content is earning a CPM close to that.
Yeah.
But anyways, still good. But usually the CPM for a sponsor will be many, many, many times higher than what YouTube would pay you.
Do you think intending to do what you've done or reproduce it for other people, do you think it's a feasible career path for most people?
Yeah, you can definitely learn how to do it. It's definitely learnable. It's definitely still possible right now. I think the question is how long it takes you to figure it out. Like for me, like I grew quicker than a lot of other channels, but it wasn't even necessarily because I made better videos, or it really was kind of a timing thing. Like I had started on TikTok before they were censoring the videos, and I had like 50 or 60 short form vertical TikToks made. And I had a YouTube channel with almost no views, almost no subscribers. And then YouTube came out with YouTube Shorts, and I was able to post every single day for like 2 or 3 months when there was no competition. And it really, really catapulted the channel into getting so many views and so many subscribers. It was just the right time, right place. And it gave me sort of the positive reinforcement I needed to continue making more videos and practice more.
Yeah.
Which is the point of what I'm saying is it was easier for me to do that because I had that positive reinforcement of having lucky timing. But I think that's true for everyone. And the other thing I'd say is like, you need to sort of come up with your style of content. You can try and make a Daniel Mann video, or make a Ryan Myers video, or an Aquatic Apes, and they might get views, but like I don't know how
it's not
to tell someone to come up with their own video, but like the audience will see that this is something original. I think a great example of that is Key West Waterman's videos. It's unique style. It's his style of video. He's been doing it for so many years and not stopping. And now his audience is growing like crazy. His views are going up and up. And he seems to have such a dedicated audience. Yeah. I mean, the number of comments per view on his videos, it's wild. And I think
I like his intro. He's
unique voice.
Hello and welcome. I am Aaron Young.
Boys and girls. Hello, boys and girls.
Hello, boys and girls. I am Aaron Young. Yeah. It's very like distinctive, but he's just such a natural dude. Like he's a genuinely good human too. And I think his style captures that as well. And, you know, Madeline, the dog, the little boat they head out on, the mangrove area they live in, the spearing, I don't know. It's like you say, authenticity sort of speaks to people. You know, like you have to be
authenticity. Yeah. And yeah, you want to seem like it's someone like you like, and he has like a nice idyllic life as well. And
he's built it intentionally, a little bit like yourself, which is what a lot of people appeals to a lot of people, I think. And your videos do that. You're capturing Indonesia. You're capturing the vibrant colors and the people and the amazing water, and then these fantastic moments, which is often the hook to get people into the video. But let's talk about the hook. Let's talk about storyline, plot, hook, and the other devices you use to sort of get people in on your longer videos.
Yeah, I still do, but I used to more study like the structure of a story. I highly recommend Masterclass. You can have all these amazing filmmakers and storytellers just tell you how they write a story. It's really incredible. Malcolm Gladwell and Martin Scorsese, just Aaron Sorkin, just so many amazing storytellers. They just lay it all out for you. And that was a big thing that I did at the beginning, to study the structure of a story.
So the hero's journey, or what are some of the other modes all these days for plot?
Yeah, the hero's journey, Dan Carlin's story circle. It's the same idea. There's like
Dan Carlin from Hardcore History.
Oh, sorry, not Dan Carlin. Dan Harmon from Rick and Morty.
Okay, yep.
Although Dan Carlin has his own great story.
Oh, he does, particularly with narrative story for sure.
I just finished his Wrath of the Khans just last week.
Oh, mate, so good. Blueprint for Armageddon is also sick. Really good.
Is it?
It's First World War. Yeah.
First World War.
Yeah, I tell you what, I don't know. When you listen to Dan Carlin and he's like, I'm not a historian, and then you think about all the shit history teachers you had at school and you're like, jeepers, how did you guys make this stuff so boring? Like he just almost like can't make it boring. Like I listened to Wrath of the Khans is like 18 hours on, Genghis Khan and Kublai, like the sort of the three generations of it. Like it's crazy. It's so interesting.
He is such a historian. That's not true when he says that.
Yeah.
I'm not a historian. Come on.
Yeah. It's like when Joe Rogan says he's a moron. It's like, yeah, maybe sometimes, man, but he's still pretty clever too in other ways as well. But anyway, so you studied sort of classical filmmaking from classical filmmakers on masterclass. You also talked about Casey Neistat, which Daniel Mann also talked about a little bit as being one of his inspirations. And one of your takeaways, I think you said, was like, just like making stuff, continuing to make stuff. And once you sort of do the work, you learn as you go.
Yeah, it's all about practice. And like you get all forms of, I get all forms of creative procrastination that all come from like the fear of maybe making a bad video. Like even right now, I've been sitting on a couple of videos for months now. And I say, oh, it's because of this or because of that. But the real reason is for me, and I think a lot of people, a fear of creating, and you have to get over that fear to get better. And like some videos will be worse, some videos will be better, but if you keep practicing over time, the trajectory is going to be positive rather than negative, even though you'll inevitably create some bad stuff. But yeah, there's so many good people to draw inspiration from. I love Daniel Mann's videos. Like when I was first starting to spearfish, I was watching every single one. Before I'd ever speared, I was watching his videos. I bought your book, The 99 Tips on, so I remember right after I left Thailand, I was coming here because I wanted to learn how to spearfish. You can't spearfish in Koh Tao where I was. Yep. And I was reading your book on the way over here.
Oh, wow.
And watching Daniel Mann's videos. So yeah, there's inspiration from all over the place. And I think it's important to like maybe emulate things that you like, but if you try and like go to Norway and copy Daniel Mann's Norway video, like too similarly, the audience is going to know. And I don't know if it's the way to succeed or even get better. I think that like you need to pick and choose specific things and find your own voice. And that's the best way to stand out.
You've got a great voice. Like you obviously you've got this Connecticut, New York accent. You're in Indonesia. And you're a foreigner there. It kind of gives you like when you're high on openness, I think, and you're in those sort of a different context too, it kind of lends to making a very interesting and appealing context. Do you know what I mean? And then your voice, your tone of voice when you narrate a video is very compelling. Like it's natural, but it's also got great ebb and flow. A lot of people, when they tell a story, believe they're being inauthentic by using tone, like letting their energy carry in their voice, But like the most interesting people that have ever been around, like Steve Irwin, like I swear that if that guy sold shoes, he would sell more shoes than anyone else on the planet because his passion is evident, And do you think that selling suits and selling in general gave you a set of skills for being able to do that?
I used to cold call when I was selling suits. So I would call lawyers or people like that who bought suits. And I hated doing it. It was horrible.
It's hard.
But anyways, there was like a thing when you would cold call, like if you look up how to successfully cold call, there's like it's usually real estate courses and stuff, but like one thing they say is smile and dial. So like when you're speaking on the phone, you're saying it like maybe you can hear my tone of voice change right now because I'm smiling.
Yeah.
And so I do that when I'm recording. I'm standing up, I'm not sitting down, I'm smiling, and I'll often read the script through one time before on microphone recording with my headphones on one time, just so I can see the structure of a sentence hear the structure as it's coming out of my mouth, and you know which words to emphasize, where to pause, where to do this and that, and you're more hyped up and warmed up. And then the next time around, you're smiling, you're energetic, you're standing up. And
so
it's part of it. Like,
do you write your script, record it, and then cut your video to the script? Or do you do it the other way around?
No. I write my script. I watch all the clips completely through pretty much. And then as I'm watching them, I'll take notes and sort of write kind of a rough thing or things I want to write about during that process. And then I sit down and write the script start to end with the words I'm going to say, whether there's A-roll where I'm speaking to the camera, which is rare, but there is some. And then I write the corresponding clips in like a row next to that, what I want to have the B-roll going on.
Wow, very cool. And before you've written your script, do you already have... First of all, can you explain what a hook is?
A hook, like the beginning of a video.
Yeah. So you want something compelling to captivate the audience in order to watch through to the end. Is that kind of the gist of it? Yeah.
You want to convince the audience that like the video they clicked on is going to be cool. I think a great example is like Batman 2 with the Joker, like that opening scene with the bank, like Joker robbing the bank, like it doesn't actually really have much to do with the story except for introducing the type of person the Joker is. But like no one who watched that first 15 minutes is then thinking like, oh, this video is going to suck. Like, why did I come see Batman? Everyone is going to be like, whoa, I can't wait to. So you want like a version of that for YouTube, you know, you want it to be cool. You want the person like, I don't know if it's better, but it is the reality of the way people consume videos, especially on YouTube, and TikTok's kind of making it worse or just more true. Like you click the video, and then if you're on your phone, I bet you more than half the people they've already minimized the video to be on the bottom of their phone, and they're already scrolling to look at other thumbnails. I bet you it's the majority. I don't know if there's a statistic on that, but it just needs to be more exciting than every other potential option. Not that I do it perfectly, but it's something to keep in mind when you start the video.
No,
having said that, it's not always true, because like if you have an audience that really likes you and knows you as a person and loves your content, they're gonna sit through whatever intro because they're invested in you already. Like a good example is Casey Neistat. Like no matter what his intro is, I'm gonna watch his entire video through. And so that takes longer to do. That building an audience like that takes a much longer time than to focus on the intro and make it exciting.
Yeah. It's easier when people know you, like, and then because then they let you be human. It's like they have a level of tolerance for your stupid human stuff. You know, like I've said and done some of the dumbest stuff. But if people have listened to like 4 or 5 hours of me, then they have a level of tolerance for my stupidity, you know, and it's there and it comes out all the time. I think with YouTube being it's such an unforgiving format sometimes, like, you know, once you've watched 3 or 4 of someone's videos, you get like that. You start to go, oh, this dude's cool, you know, like I want to watch what he's doing, you know. And that kind of your core crew. But a lot of the people, you know, they just in and out, you know, like they're sort of the flavor of the moment. There's not a loyalty there. They don't have reciprocity. They're just watching you purely for entertainment. That's that'd be kind of grating, I think, sometimes, particularly with YouTube.
Yeah. And I think YouTube is kind of turning more into that. It's becoming so much more competitive, and people are getting better at making a spectacle intro, and it kind of just is what it is. Like you can still have your core audience, you can still build that, but I think people are you're just competing with like real production teams and real script writers and storytellers now, and
Yeah.
it seems like it's going to continue in that direction.
Yeah, the agile sort of one-man bands though, like they do have their own compelling thing to them as well, and like your channel definitely captures that, even though you've got some help these days. Ongoing learning, do you like how do you sort of like, I know like when I run a spearfishing course, or when I recently ran this charter, like a massive thing for me is doing a debrief, and it's almost like a semi-formal thing where I really try and dial in on like, what did we do well? How can we amplify this next time? Where did we fall short? And how can we fix some of those things and make it way better for next time? And there's something about like, someone that's done something for 5 years, if they've been through any sort of intentional process to get better, generally they have got better. I mean, maintaining the same enthusiasm and interest you have at the start, at the end of 5 years might be a different thing. But how do you do that for yourself?
For spearfishing or making videos?
Well, let's start with spearing and then we'll come back to videos.
Yeah, for spearing, the best way to learn, especially for me, probably for everybody, is just going with people who are better than you, speaking with people who are better than you. And even just like if I'm with a guy who's like really good, I'll often just like kind of watch him, and you just see the way that they do it, the way that they duck dive, what they're doing on their way down, whether they're looking, whether they're just got their chin tucked and they're going right to the bottom. And a great way is also watching like people's YouTube videos of good Spearos, like Tim McDonald or Ryan Myers. Just like when you're watching it, remember that there's a camera on their head and those are their movements. I think that's a great way of learning. But yeah, as far as like consuming learning content for spearfishing, I don't really do that, although I probably could and should.
It becomes a time and opportunity cost thing as much as anything, like a lot of people listen to the podcast or they watch YouTube channels because they are away from the ocean and sometimes they just want to maintain the high levels of froth and think about different things that are going to improve their game when they do get to hit the water. It's really like it's a completely sort of personal choice, I think.
Yeah. And really, it's like everything, right? Time doing it is the best teacher.
Yeah, but intentionality plus time doing something is completely different than just, I read this wicked quote the other day. It was something about like, like just sort of doing something and not really being intentional about improving. Well, you'll still improve, but the results like are amplified enormously when you have any form of intentionality about learning and doing something ongoing. With filmmaking, what's your process these days? Because sometimes, like, when you're brand new, you're like really like loaded on getting better, and then you sort of fall off the wagon, after you've been doing it for so long, and it kind of becomes just sort of background stuff.
Yeah. In an ideal world, I think if you spend like 80% of the time doing it and practicing, and maybe 20% of the time like learning, I think that's a really powerful combination. And I'm pretty good about learning. I still watch these different masterclasses. I have different books on screenwriting, and like I have like a little notebook about storytelling, which sometimes I'm really into it and I take a lot of notes and write things down. Sometimes I don't. But there's so many resources, I guess, for whatever you want to learn, but for, let's say, storytelling or filmmaking, like never before has there been all of these experts and like amazing storytellers just breaking it down for you, and the way that they do it, and they all do it a little bit differently. And it also serves as like a big inspiration. You get fired up to go and create something after listening to these guys and girls talk about how they do it. It's amazing. Another thing, I don't do this now. I probably still should, but I used to, I would download a video that I really liked, and I would put it into Final Cut Pro, my editing software, and then I would cut it clip by clip where the editor cut it.
Yep.
And I'd sort of just try to get an understanding of where they cut, and then you can think about why they cut there, and you just sort of see what their timeline might have looked like. And I think that's a great tool for learning. how to edit videos as well. It's free.
Nice.
If your buddy had a blackout on your next spearfishing trip, think, what would the outcome of that be? Do you know how to revive someone from a blackout? Would you even be in a position to do something about it? Or would you be diving, chasing after a fish as your buddy sinks down to the bottom of the ocean? Do you know where most blackouts happen? Do you know what you can do to minimize your risk of having a blackout? My name is Ted Hardy, and I'm the founder of freedivingsafety.com. In my free online course, you will learn the truth about shallow water blackout, the myth of I don't push myself, I know my limits, I'm in tune with my body, how to minimize your risk of having a blackout, and most importantly, how to save your buddy's life if they have one. Visit freedivingsafety.com to sign up for your free course today. Dive safe out there. It's not even that hard.
Freediving for spearfishers at howtofreedive.com will help you to extend your breath hold, understand your body better, and put you in a better position when you actually get to go out spearfishing. This program is not for noobs, as this program is for people who have some diving under their belts and understand some basic spearfishing safety, but it's perfect for Spearos who want a guided, easy to follow and complete program with videos, a clear process, and a set goal. The 5-minute freediver works. Get started for free and see if it's for you at howtofreedive.com. There's a tester there. Use the code Noob Spearo, NOOB SPEARO, to save some money if you do decide to purchase. Check it out at howtofreedive.com. Freediving for spearfishers, a fantastic way to prepare, especially if you've got a big trip coming up. Get to that 5-minute mark, and it does translate to your diving at howtofreedive.com. Last question on YouTube. What's kind of two questions in one. File management, editing software. Walk us through that. What's your sort of process for it all?
I'm not in a position to give advice on file management. You should see how many hard drives I have. It's a mess.
Yeah.
When you find someone who knows how, let me know, and I want to listen to them talk about it. I don't know, honestly.
Daniel Mann's pretty good, eh? He like double backs everything up. He's got, I think, 2 10 or 20 terabyte drives with what's the super fast
SSD?
Oh, okay, yeah. But even with drives too, is it Thunderbolt that's like near instantaneous for large files? I don't know.
Oh, yeah. So I definitely back up everything. I have two of all my hard drives. The rule of thumb, they say you're supposed to have, it's like a 3-2-1 rule. Have it stored on 3 locations, 2 of them physical, 1 of them in the cloud, or 1 of them in a different location in case there's a fire. It's something like that. I basically just have 2 of all my hard drives, and within the hard drives, it's a mess. So that's where my organization ends.
Yeah. Do you label them according to trip and date, or have you got like topical type files, or is it just everything?
Yeah, it'll be like trip and date. Not date. It'll be like trip, like what's like the shark attack video I think you mentioned earlier. Like that file is called Shark Attack Doggy or something. And so if I want to find footage from that, I'll guess which hard drive it is, whether it's hard drive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8. And if it's not that one, then I just keep checking each one and type in Shark Attack Doggy. It's not the right way to do it.
Oh, well, I would almost like watch a specific training video on that then, like if that was
should.
Yeah. No, that's cool, man. Love your honesty. I think that's one of the cool things about your channel too, is like people appreciate like the human aspects sometimes to the videos. And I think like with your channel, like you are yourself. Like there's, you lose fish, you have mistakes, you have tangles, the boat fails, it gets flooded, the police come, there's all that sort of stuff in your videos. And it's it adds drama to it, but it's also a level of honesty and authenticity and humility that comes with sharing the fuck ups as much as anything else. So.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. It's on one hand, you don't want to make spearfishing look like you're wounding a bunch of animals. And like a channel like mine, like a lot of the people don't spearfish, and it could tarnish it. But on the other hand, like that is part of spearfishing. Like everybody who starts chasing wahoo is gonna like wound them and place bad shot. Nobody's gonna start chasing wahoo and wait for them to be 2 meters away from them and place a headshot every time.
Yeah.
It is the reality of it. And like, but I do sometimes wonder if it's a misrepresentation of spearfishing. So it's like, and on the other hand, I don't know if people love listening to someone who's so amazing. Like, let's use the Batman analogy again. Imagine Batman meets the Joker for the first time, punches him and knocks him out, puts him in jail. And then he goes and meets Two-Face, punches him, knocks him out, puts him in jail, and the movie's over. Like, it's not really,
Batman.
there's no drama there, you know? Like,
there's no
struggle.
tension. Yeah.
Tension.
And I think, the hero's journey captures that. It's like, and life itself is like that, like adversity is part of what makes us who we are, and it makes a film what it is and things like that. Like, there has to be struggle, suffering to make things almost triumphant and beautiful. It's like you have to have that sort of that juxtaposition, that contrast in order to make things, I don't know, interesting, captivating.
And like the best fish I ever got was a 60-kilo doggy. It was a perfect headshot. And I had like a whole doggy series from last year. I think it might have been 5 videos, and that one got the fewest amount of views. The best fish, like everything went perfectly. Like, people want to see when I spear a little one and then look to the left and see a giant one, and then I'm like, oh,
yeah.
It's funnier. I get it. It's a more interesting story than like, I went down and did this perfectly, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
Not to say you should do stupid things to make the video better, but like, include them when you inevitably do stupid things. At least that's what I do.
You got to be able to laugh at yourself, which is great. Awesome. You had a friend had shallow water blackout. I want to hear about this. What happened? And what did you guys learn from it? Did it? Yeah. Well, tell me, please share the story.
Yeah. So this was in October or November of last year. We were on a liveaboard trip, and this guy, I hadn't met him before the trip, but we became friends for the trip. It was like 10 days or something. We were going after doggies, and it was the last day of the trip, and I was on the boat with my buddy, and we were sort of looking at the people spearfishing. We didn't feel like going that morning, and I saw a float sort of tombstoning on the surface, and I just said to my buddy, like, "Oh, look, looks like someone's got something." And then we continued chatting for another 10 minutes or so, and then I looked back out there again, and the float was still tombstoning in that same spot. And then I said to him, like, "Oh, I guess they got tangled or something. Maybe just like a fish reefed up or something." And then another 5 minutes later, and then you hear a lot of commotion on the walkie-talkies, and this guy, who at that point we were friends. We had spent the past 10 days living together on the boat, and he had blacked out, and he ended up dying. And we spent an hour and a half trying to do CPR and resuscitate him. And yeah, I'm a freediving instructor, and I wasn't in the water at the time, but if I was, I would not have been doing the proper 1 up, 1 down safety that you're taught in a freediving course. They weren't doing that, obviously. He was in there with 2 of his friends from home, and 2 of my good friends were both amazing divers. They were all in the same area of the reef. So like, when someone says, "Don't dive alone," they don't mean like go out with your buddies. Like, when someone says never dive alone, what they mean is you're supposed to do a proper 1 up, 1 down safety, like you're taught. You're an instructor as well, aren't you, Shrek?
Yeah,
like you're taught in a freediving course. And this was sort of just what happens when you don't do that. And I don't know, it's when I first started spearing, I was perfect about it because I was an instructor before I ever speared fish. And so I would go out with other friends of mine. They were also instructors, and it was 100% perfect 1 up, 1 down buddy system. You're looking at your friend the whole time. You wait for them to surface, you see them do the recovery breaths, and then it's your time to breathe up and prepare to die, and they'll dive. Excuse me, Freudian slip, I guess. Prepare to dive, and then they'll do the same thing for you. And then slowly, for me, over time, that those limits were pushed. And then like a couple of years later, you're not really safetying each other at all. Like you're in the general vicinity, you might see your buddy surface, you might not, doesn't really matter. And I don't know. It was a big lesson learned of the things that can happen. And it's hard because it's hard to do a perfect safety, especially when you're going after dogtooth tuna and the currents are ripping. It's white water, sometimes like it's rapids. You each have a 30-meter float line with 2 floats and a giant spear gun in your hands. It's almost impossible to do a proper safety without getting your stuff tangled up, unless you share the same gun, which Evan and I were actually doing on this last trip for a lot of it. Which if you only have one spear gun, then you're always doing a perfect safety because you want to be near your buddy when he surfaces so that you could dive. But having said that, like you run the risk of missing out on opportunities on other fish, and maybe that's just the way to do it. I don't know. But I do know that if a proper safety was done in that moment, then this guy wouldn't have blacked out and ended up dying.
What's it changed for you?
Oh, it's really changed my spearfishing. I've honestly gone spearfishing way less since then. It's always in my mind, like even sometimes now, but before, like I would dive down afterwards and like on my way down, like get like flashbacks of trying to resuscitate this guy, which is not good for your relaxation on your way down for a dive, and probably not good mentally either. But you know, I'm just a lot more careful now. Like there was like on that very same trip, like I was pushing it. Like the doggies were deeper on this trip. Like you had to go past 25 meters to see them most of the time. And I mean, it takes you 30 seconds to get down there, 30 seconds to get back up, and maybe you're down there for 30 seconds. That's already kind of a long dive. Like, and
it is when you add, even when you're experienced, if you add anything else into that recipe, into that,
and you
equation.
add anything else, and you're diving with what's essentially a tree trunk in your hand, the giant gun. It was a wake up call, as like you can't like, yeah, it was a wake up call. Like, and it's so sad that this guy is such a nice guy, experienced guy. He had a spearfishing charter. That was his job. Like, it wasn't like he was learning how to do it. And
do you almost like I know for me, like, you know, I was in a correctional environment for a while, and my parents were both ex-military. And one of the things I kind of got out of it when I went into corrections was it almost revitalized some of the way I was brought up. This extremely military way of doing things when it comes to high risk environments. And it means precise communication, precise rules. So you reduce the gray area so that people are safe and you're all on the same page. This team diving where you're in these sort of fairly extreme environments, right? You're diving in big down currents, depth, chasing big fish with big guns. It almost seems to warrant this militaristic, systematic type way of doing things. Would you agree with that? Does it pull the fun out of it? Like you say, you do sometimes seem to miss some opportunities. Is that something you can see yourself adopting more of in this situation? So it's like one guy has your big blue water cannon, one guy's got a real gun for a backup shot, and then maybe if you're working in a 3-man team, the other person does burley and whatever, or flasher, and then you sort of you rotate through, or is that less like ivory tower type thinking?
It's what should be done. Like, it should be a teamwork thing. The thing is, like, unless it's a special conditions day, like there's a bommy or a small island, and then the current's going one direction towards the island or bommy, and then at the very tip is the pressure point. There's probably like a big boulder 30 meters deep or something. And so even if the current's only going a couple of knots, you get one dive on that one spot. You have to time it perfectly. Otherwise, like, you really have to hit that specific pressure point if you want to see the school without getting lucky. So my point is, like, if you are with your buddies and each of you has a gun and you space yourselves out 15 meters between each other, everybody gets a shot at that pressure point. Whereas if you do what you just described, then one person does, and then you have to get back on the boat, drive
15
up
minutes to
current, and
reset.
20 minutes later you try again.
Yeah.
That's not to say it's wrong, but that's to say why people slowly just say, it'll be all right. And
Yeah, I get it. And a lot of our buddy systems fall apart in this situation. And when freediving instructors teach Spearos, this is what I worry about. It sounds like ivory tower line diving type scenarios, and it's not attached to the hunting world, because a lot of our diving off where I am, off Brisbane here, it's the same. We're doing drift lines. They're quite precise drift lines. There's one main pressure point maybe on that drift line, and then it's everyone hopping back on the boat and then heading back up current. And buddy diving in these situations can become, like, I can see why a lot of people abandon it. But I don't know, man. Like, if I'm diving past 25 meters and I'm in current, I really want someone watching me on the surface. Like, even if it means reducing and doing a 2-man team or something, but I can see why. Like, we've done it before too. Like, 3 of us all hitting the front edge of the pressure point. We're all down there at the same time. But yeah, jeepers, it's rugged, man.
yeah, it's so when this happened, there was actually no current. It was slack tide. It's not like he was caught down current. And there weren't necessarily doggies around. There was a Maori sea perch on the end of his spear. So he was going after reef fish, which, I mean, they can be a smart fish as well. So, like, I mean, they're arguably harder to spear than a doggy. Challenge for a doggy, I think, is more after you pull the trigger a lot of the time. Anyways, I think that the most dangerous moment is, like, there's a little bit of current, not a lot, but it's just pushing you in a direction. And you go down whatever you're comfortable at. Let's say it's 20 meters. And, like, maybe there's just a tiniest bit of down current, but you don't know it. Like, when there's a lot of down current, it's really obvious. And, like, you're so scared. There's no way you're going to go past X number of meters. It's so obvious there's down current. You're probably not even going to dive. But when there's a little bit, you don't really know it. And let's say, like, you're at 20 meters where you're comfortable at, and then you see biggest dog you've ever seen in your life in the distance. And then you just wait like an extra 10 seconds. And there's a tiny bit of down current. So you're actually 24 meters deep rather than 20, but you don't know it because you thought you were at 20. That's how many kicks usually get you down to 20. And then just wait 10 more seconds, because it is 100-kilo doggy you're looking at. You may never see one again in your life. And then you spear it or don't spear it. And then when you're coming back up, you're 4 meters deeper than you thought you would. So maybe you need 16 kicks rather than 13 kicks to get back up. And there's a bit of down current. So actually you need 18 kicks. And you just speared 100-kilo doggy. So your heart's racing and you're using more rocks. And then I think that's the dangerous situation. And, like, that's going to be a temptation for any person on earth to not miss up. And it's okay if you have a proper safety, or at least it's more okay. And I think it would take an incredible amount of mental strength or fortitude to like not fall for that trap in that specific that's what I think is the most dangerous situation, chasing doggies with these down currents, basically, is my point.
Do you think there's an opportunity here? Like, like you're talking about your camera buddy, right? He's an 80-meter freediver. He's filming you sometimes these days, and then he's double up as your safety as well. It almost seems like there's opportunity for that. Like, you're out on these foreign, you're on a charter in remote waters in a country that's not your own. You'd almost pay for peace of mind to have someone follow you. It'd be a bonus that they're filming, but really their primary job would just be looking after you. I mean,
yeah,
they're not there to spear fish. They're being paid to look after you and film. It's like, it sounds like a really sweet and a smart idea, particularly if you're older, you got kids, and particularly if you're going diving with people that you don't really know and trust.
I think it's if you can afford it. There's a lot of cameramen out there, great divers, who would love to come on a trip for free, Like, I think for sure that's one of the benefits of, like, going with my buddy Dieter, like, and yeah, like, I don't know. And even now, after that happened, like, diving alone, when I say alone, I mean not with a proper one up, one down safety. it almost still seems inevitable unless like you really have your boys that they go with you on every single trip and you really have a thing dialed in. And even then, like for instance, there's fads here in Bali, like tons of fads. You don't need a safety at the fads. Really, you don't. Like you can go to 5 meters to Spearo or a rainbow runner and you're not going to black out. Can you go to 10 meters? Can you go to 13? Can you go to 15? Like, and then it's just like, where does it end? And you know, there's so many amazing divers I know, like some of like the deepest divers in the world, like they spearfish very regularly without a safety all the time, and they're comfortable with it. They seem to confident that they can manage that risk, and maybe they can. I guess they can. They have so far for decades, and
it's their choice. It's everyone's choice. The crap thing, I think, is where like you have people with the best intentions in the world, and they are good at looking after people, but then they have a series of like shit dive buddies, like where you know, like I'm not saying I'm a perfect dive buddy or anything like that. I'm definitely not. I'm definitely like a guy that sometimes like to swim off by myself and have a spearing session, particularly after you run courses and stuff. It's almost like you're just happy to get out there and be solo. But like I've had many times where, you know, like I chase someone because we were supposed to be buddies. I watch them through their whole dive, and then I have my dive and I come back up and they're 100 meters away, and then I chase after them, and you know, you know, how long do you persist with that before you just go, well, I'm diving by myself anyway, might as well just enjoy it, you know? And I worry about those people because it's like you almost infect other people with your poor behaviors because you don't like to watch people because you can't be bothered, or that, hey, look, there's something shiny over there. You know, you start to infect the other people around you. It's almost like, I don't know. I like to think like if you're diving with the same group of guys and you're all, you know, savage, friggin' experienced guys or whatever, and girls, and you're diving 20 to 25 meters and that's your bread and butter. Sorry, maybe you're a 10 to 15 meters diving. You're doing that all the time with these people, and then the next day you're all out and you're starting to do 20 meters, and you definitely want to tighten those systems up and think like that. I think you do have to frame risk up. Like you're saying, if you're diving the fads, it's real low risk, easy diving, and you're more effective out sort of just keeping an eye on each other, but you're at a distance. Like, I don't know, you just sort of work these things out as you go, don't you?
Yeah, I guess you do. I mean, I know what you're talking about. Like you dive with someone, I've had it be like, all right, we're going to do a proper buddy system. I do my dive. I come up. He's there. He's watching me. And then he starts swimming in the opposite direction of the pressure point. I'm thinking like, you're going to make me follow you all the way freaking over there? There's no, like, that's not where they are.
Yep.
And
that happens too.
I guess you just have, I guess you do have to just do that, especially because he's expecting you in that moment. But it's frustrating.
I think it's nice when, like, if I'm in the water with someone that's better than me, I really want to know what their plan is. I'm just going to go along with it, whether it's my turn to dive or not, or theirs. There's kind of like people like diving with humble people. Like if I came to Indo and I'm diving with you, I'm going, hey man, what's the plan? Like I'm going to trust Lenny because this is Lenny's neck of the woods and Lenny knows how to spear. I'm going to do what Lenny says. And if I have a different idea, I'm going to say, hey Lenny, I reckon over there might be really shit hot because of this reason. But otherwise, I'm pretty much just going to like lean on your experience and wisdom in that area. And when it's my turn to dive, I'm going to hope you're going to follow me and watch me, but I'm going to stick to what the plan that you've laid out, unless I've got a better idea, and then I'm going to communicate that to you. I think that's kind of a good thing. I like it when I'm with an inexperienced person. Like I dive with my brother-in-law a lot lately. You know, he's flat out 10-meter diving, so we stick to the shallows, but he wants to know where I want to go and where he thinks we're going to find fish. Likewise, when I'm heading out with some, you know, epic Spearo like Trevor Kitchen or something like that, I'm going to say, hey Trevor, what's the plan? I'm just going to do what Trevor says because I'm going to have more opportunities because he knows exactly where to go and what to do. I think sometimes there's not an acknowledgement of that. It's like some people don't have an awareness. Like they think they know, but they, you know, like you say, they swim away from the pressure point and annoying shit like that. It's like, well, we're not going to shoot any fish now. It's very, it's very frustrating. So
yeah, it's
big convo, Lenny. Big convo.
Yeah, big convo. I don't know, that it seems like there's some element of inevitability. Like spearfishing is inherently dangerous, But like, really, if you have a proper buddy system, one up, one down, that level of risk is mitigated by so many times. You've never heard of a story of someone with a proper buddy system blacking out and dying.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I guess this is one famous example of that freediver Nick Bevioli, but even that was like a fringe specific thing. Like it's always when things go wrong, you're doing something a bit more extreme. This didn't happen, or
yeah. And shit happens, man. We're in an uncontrolled, wild environment, and our bodies can be weird and wonderful things in terms of how our physiology changes from day to day, and all of this stuff comes into play. I hear what you're saying. I love the buddy system, especially buddy systems that work. It means you catch more fish, you have more fun as well. But
and the danger is part of the appeal, if we're being honest. Like, the fact that it's extreme is what makes it exciting.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Right. That's like, it looks cool to people. That's why they want to start spearfishing, because it looks so cool. You could go that deep.
100%, and that's why your YouTube channel was rocking out. What did we say? 2.31 million subscribers. Well done, Lenny. Aquatic Apes, everyone. Check it out, aquaticapes.com. You've got a fantastic, I wanted to head on out and ask you a couple of quick questions, but you've got a fantastic t-shirt design with, it's a takeoff of the Jaws t-shirt. What was the inspiration for that?
I don't know what the inspiration was, but I've only sold one, so it's not that fantastic.
Mate, I reckon, like, noobspearo.com, I've got a couple of rad t-shirt designs as well. The beauty of things these days is, like, it's made on demand. So, like, I might make 50 cents from the sale of a t-shirt, and people are like, what? It's $40. But it's like, at least I don't have to stock the stuff, because like you say, man, selling it sometimes it's a real weird thing, eh? Like, Spearo's, so many of us just shop at like Target or something, and we're not really buying or wearing our own stuff, Spearo stuff.
Yeah. I do the print on demand as well. It's it seems like a lot of work and a lot of risk to stock it and then have to ship it worldwide.
I wonder how Dan Mann's going. He's got diveeverywhere.com. I wonder how he's going with his t-shirt sales. Because I got to say, mine aren't very crash hot either.
Yeah, my shirts don't sell. I sell a good amount of these hats with the fit. It's like a polo style cap, but instead of the polo logo, it's like a embroidered fish.
Yeah, I've
bunch
seen
of different
them.
species. We sell a good amount, but again, like, maybe it's enough to warrant stocking it, but I still don't want to.
Nah.
Like, it sounds like so much work.
Yeah, I started stocking stuff. I bought I think 80 of these t-shirts and 20 hoodies or something. Like, maybe I've sold like 15 or 20 of them, and like, it's not even really making much money out of it. It's just like, well, I definitely don't want to be packing packages by myself. It's just like, we're trying to make this thing a legit, lifestyle. It's like, whatever you can do to help grow and keep it going, I guess. And yeah, you're obviously passionate about making videos, man. So that's it's doing what it does, I guess.
Yeah, the videos. I mean, as far as earning money, I think the majority of people earn more from YouTube or from a sponsorship, if you can get one. But yeah, I don't know. I hear of people who sell a lot of merch. I hear of people who earn more from merch than they do from AdSense. I saw Ryan Myers did a drop of merch a couple of months ago. I saw on his Instagram story, he had just a pile of packages ready to go out. Like, must have been 50 or 80, like, so many.
Good on him.
Yeah.
I hear people's success. So I want to emulate it, but good on him anyway. This podcast is brought to you by aqualite.com.au. This is the best solution, bar none, for staying hydrated in the ocean. If you're a Spearo, it's an absolute no-brainer. It's a game changer. If you're doing extended trips and the cramp starts to set in and the old body's telling you, hey, that's enough, just get hydrated and it will save you a whole heap of woe. It's a groundbreaking product that can help you to stay hydrated. It's got low sugar. It's less acidic than other options on the market. It's rapid absorption, help you to maintain performance. dehydration of just 1 to 2% can affect your mental and physical performance by up to 6 or 7%. And as when you're spearfishing, you can tell when dehydration is starting to affect you because the equalization goes out the window. Get Aqualite at aqualite.com.au. It's scientific rehydration that Spearos know and trust. I know because one works there, and that's why we've set up this discount code for you, 10% off when you use the code Spearo at aqualite.com.au. Check it out. Australian-made hydration products tailored for Spearos and a whole bunch of other people that suffer from dehydration too. But check it out at aqualite.com.au. Use the code Spearo to save 10%. oldmanblue.com.au. You can't cheat experience, you can't fake passion, and damn, Old Man Blue can make gear that will last and stand the test of time. Check it out at oldmanbluedive on Instagram. Mate, 3 quick questions.
Cool.
What is the best resource you believe for spearfishing? Can be anything. In-person course, can be book, podcast, Noob Spearo podcast maybe. I don't know, just whatever you think.
Yeah, the Noob Spearo podcast is great. I honestly, not just saying it for you. I listened to a bunch and bought your book when I was starting. But I'd say the best resource is an experienced person in the area that you want to do, whether that's a guide you pay for or if you find someone generous enough to give some of their knowledge or time to you. Because it's so, it's so specific each area, like the technique and the fish and all these things. So I think I'd say the best resource is much more localized in that sense.
Love it. Single best tip for new noobs. Maybe if you could start all over again, what would be the one piece of advice you wish you had?
Look for the pressure points of the reef of what's going on. It took me forever to figure out exactly what's going on. All of the fish are there. Like that's where everything's at. Nothing else matters but that one little pressure points. And if you don't know what I'm saying by pressure point, if you're really starting out, there's some sort of a structure, whether it's a pile of reef, a big rock, or an island or a bommy, and the current's going in one direction. And at the nose of it, where the current hits, there's a pressure point, usually with bait fish on the surface. Here in Indo, there's lots of surgeon fish as well, sometimes rainbow runners. And underneath that is the pelagics. That's where you'll find a lot of the Spanish. That's where you'll find doggies. That's where you'll find the biggest reef fish. It's focus on the pressure points, I think.
That is magic. That's a standalone video right there, I reckon. Maybe that's one. We're going to spin that into one, probably up on the Noob Spearo shorts. Thank you very much for that. Last question, Lenny. You've been an absolute legend too. As I mentioned, aquaticapes.com, but Aquatic Apes pretty much everywhere, eh? YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. And
YouTube mostly. That's my main thing. I don't go on Instagram much, and TikTok I haven't posted in a year. YouTube.
Nice. All right, cool. Last question, man. What does the spearfishing experience mean to you in one sentence, or maybe 2 if you have to?
In one sentence, the spearfishing experience. Oh. Was this question on the sheet you sent me?
100%.
The spearfishing experience in one sentence or 2. I feel like I'm not going to give a good sentence. I just love spending time in the ocean and understanding how the ecosystem works and seeing the wildlife do their thing. And this is a run-on sentence, but still one sentence. And yeah, like it's fun to like learn the hunting techniques, and it's a very satisfying and rewarding thing in a way that's you can't really understand unless you've actually put in the time to reap the rewards. And it does take time to reap those initial rewards for sure. But I can't imagine anyone doing it and not like loving it after that initial time of sucking and learning,
It's an incredibly cruel question to end a long interview with, because it forces people to try and boil down what is an amazing experience into a very short 1 or 2 sentence structure. And it's quite difficult to do. You did a very good job of it, Lenny. Mate, I've had a blast chatting with you, and we're going to chat again in the future when you and your buddy Evan have got something ready for us. So, but mate, a pleasure to have you on the Noob Spearo podcast, and keep doing what you're doing. Aquatic Apes on YouTube, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was great.
Hey, legends, thanks for listening to today's podcast. I hope you enjoyed Aquatic Apes, Lenny Logsdail. He's an absolute legend and makes Indonesia sound like a really cool place to go and have a look at for enjoying our spearing, that's for sure. Hey, in 2 weeks' time, come back for key takeaways, froth moments while learning to get better at spearfishing, all on the Stradbroke Spearfishing course. It was an absolute pleasure doing it. If you want to check out those courses, go to spearfishingcourses.com.au. As usual, this podcast is powered by Patreon legends. Go to patreon.com/Noob Spearo. You can support the podcast on an episode-by-episode basis. Join about 40 other legends up there helping to put fuel in the Noob Spearo outboard. Hey, that's it for me. Thanks for listening, guys. And always love the reviews, so keep them coming. I'll see you in a fortnight. This review for adreno.com.au from Brett, particularly the Woolloongabba Adreno Superstore. I started spearfishing more regularly recently, and Adreno not only has everything I need, it has Paul. He's super helpful, knowledgeable, and kits me out each time with gear that I actually use. Paul has also provided me with heaps of tips that have made my dives better and more fruitful. He has the friendliest vibe, and I would happily empty out my account upon every visit. I never write reviews, and I used to buy gear online, but have now found in-store is much better. That review from Brett, it's up on Google if you want to check it out. Adreno.com.au, one of the longest running partners of the Noob Spearo podcast. Use the code Noob Spearo to save $20. In-store, online, go to adreno.com.au. Massive superstores, huge range of gear. Check it out. Absolutely mint customer service. Specialty spearfishing equipment, elite spear gun performance components, unforgettable reliability. You want to find out where to buy this? Punch at Neptonics.com and shop at the best US spearfishing store, Neptonics.com. Free shipping to the lower 48 when you spend over $199, and you can use the code NOOB10 to save 10%. This is your chance to save dosh. Buy deadly good gear and experience A-grade customer service. Will you shop with the best? Visit Neptonics.com. Use the code NOOB10 to start shooting 35-pound muttons tomorrow. Actual performance may differ from advertisement. Please refer to terms and conditions to see if you're eligible to be a legend like Trek. This advertisement was not even endorsed by Jerry and the team at Neptonics. Hoorah, and God bless America.